Hey, I'm going to do a quick discussion rather than an active training exercise. I've been asked a question by a friend of a friend, hi Katie, about her dachshund, who's 2 years old. He has a few issues, but we're going to deal with them one at a time. And it's something that comes up a lot with dogs. So I'm going to just do an individual on each issue so that you can use it as a go-to, Katie, okay? Chewing stuff up. So let's talk about that. With young puppies, we always provide them with chew toys, etc. because we know that they're teething. We have a lot of empathy for that when they're tiny. We tend to then, as the puppy gets older and hits adolescence, we have a real tendency to then stop providing chew toys for our dogs because we're like, okay, the puppy phase is over, we don't need all of these toys that we buy for our dogs. Mistake number one. If the dog has an appropriate outlet of for chewing, then it shouldn't seek out other things to chew. Dogs can still be teething later on in adolescence. We have the initial teething phase where, you know, they're losing their puppy teeth and their adult teeth are coming in. And then later on we have like a secondary teething phase where all of those adult teeth are settling into the jaw structure. So I think that's why we get a lot of, one of the reasons we get a lot of adolescent dogs in rescue centres, because the owner perceives that as, oh, well, they know not to chew and now they're chewing and it's a pain in the arse. Let's whack them in rescue. That's a big generalisation, but I think that's one of the reasons that we have a lot of that kind of age bracket in rescue centres. If we teach a young puppy to chew the appropriate things, this shouldn't become an issue in later life. So if they're always having, anytime they pick up a novel item in the house and start chewing it, if every time we say no and trade off and give them what they're meant to be chewing, they will gradually just start to choose those items over random shoes, etc. later on. So always do that with a young puppy. Always trade off and give them something they are allowed to chew, take away the item that they're not allowed to chew. Praise them when they're chewing the appropriate item, tell them how good they are, give them loads of feedback, and then there's no reason why they wouldn't choose those items in future. Sometimes, in this dog's case that I've been talking with the owner about, sometimes dogs can do it as a attention-seeking behaviour. So you're ignoring them, you're talking with your friends, and then all of a sudden you look up and they're chewing something that they shouldn't be chewing, your shoes, your kids' toys, whatever. And they get feedback instantly. And it's just like with kids, even negative feedback is feedback. Negative attention is still attention. So again, as soon as that's happening, trade off. But if you know that your dog is likely to start chewing something at certain points in the day, happy days, then you can preempt the behaviour. If you know that your dog, when you're giving attention to somebody else, is likely to go and seek out something to chew up, before you disengage from your dog and start doing something like that, talking with somebody, preempt it. Have something ready for your dog to chew, give it to them, good boy, and then start talking to your friend. Intermittently praise them and tell them how good they are. So that's another thing that you can do. I've got a little list here. Yeah, so also if your dog, you know, chewing can be stress relieving. So sometimes what can happen is we've been out, the dog's chewed up something that we don't want them to chew up. We come back and the owner tells them off. Oh, bad dog, you've chewed up this, da 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 da. And because you haven't captured the moment in time where the dog has been actively chewing, the dog actually has no idea what you're scolding them for. So often you see these videos on YouTube, dog looks guilty for chewing up XYZ. The dog isn't looking guilty. Those are appeasement gestures that you're seeing in the dog, and it's really sad. Okay. When a dog is looking away from you and then looking up and looking away from you and looking up, and they're turning their head, it's avoidance behaviours. Okay, they're trying to appease your anger. That's not to say that you shout at your dog. That's not to say that you hit your dog. For some dogs, just a stern look can be aversive. So then it becomes this kind of vicious cycle of, you go out, the dog's previously been scolded for chewing something up whilst you've been out. The dog's made this connection in its brain. Last time she went out, I was told off when she got back. And the dog becomes stressed. And chewing relieves stress. So the dog finds something to chew to relieve the stress that they're feeling, of the anxiety of, oh God, they've gone out and they're coming back. And last time she came back, I got told off. But I don't know, I haven't made the connection that I was told off for chewing something, but I know I was told off. And now I need to chew something because I'm stressed. Okay. So if we leave our dog with an appropriate chew item, we can start to break that kind of cycle by getting them interested in that chew toy before we leave, praising them, telling them how good they are, using it at different times in the day where he would normally ordinarily chew. In Katie's case, when she's talking to other people and giving other people attention. Really great thing for this would be a Kong, just a Kong toy, and stuff it with something really nice. I tend to use raw food because my dogs are raw fed, but you could use a really good high quality wet food, Fourth Glade, Lily's Kitchen, anything like that. Stuff some of it in the bottom, stick something in it like I tend to use like a chicken foot or something. Stick that in there so there's something outside of the Kong, because sometimes dogs give up really easily if they can't get the reinforcement quick. So put something inside there, cram it right in, so it's going to take them longer to eat it, but have something sticking out at the end of the Kong to get them interested in it first and start chewing. Chicken foot's really great for that, or a pizzle stick, bully bar, whatever you call it if you're American. And then I tend to stick mine in the freezer so they last even longer. Some dogs will be put off by them being frozen, so if that is the case, give it to your dog not frozen first to explain the exercise to them, like anything in training. And then start freezing them gradually. So that is a really good way of making sure that your dog has something appropriate to chew whilst you're out. Also tidying up everything that you don't want to be chewed. It's kind of like when we've got kids and we childproof our house. If there's stuff that we don't want our kids to have, when they're toddlers and they're starting to crawl around and pick stuff up, we move everything that shelf higher, don't we? And it's the same with dogs. If you know that your dog is likely to do something, set them up to succeed. Move that stuff. Okay? If you know that they are destructive when you leave them, crate them. And put an appropriate chew toy in their crate. That way, they're not going to be able to walk around and chew stuff up. And it's setting a better pattern in place. Every time I'm in my crate and they go out, I'm chewing on this. And then you can start to phase out the crate if you want to, so that your dog can be free roaming. With me, it takes a long time for me to trust my own pet dogs to be left uncrated while I'm out. So yeah. So bear in mind that even older dogs can be teething. With that secondary teething phase, give your dogs a break. They're not doing it to piss you off. They're doing it because of, there's loads of reasons why your dog might be chewing. They might be teething. They might actually be in pain. They might be stressed when you leave. They might be stressed when you're giving attention to other people, and chewing relieves stress. So provide an appropriate outlet for them to chew. Preempt chewing behaviours. If you know your dog chews at certain times, get in there before it happens. Okay, a bit like when we are toilet training our children, we're constantly asking them, do you need the toilet, darling? Do you need the toilet, darling? Should we go to the toilet? And it's kind of like that with chewing. If you know that your dog is likely to chew something, give them something that they are allowed to chew. Trade off, just like with kids. No, honey, don't draw on the walls, here's some paper. Okay, so yeah, that's just a little talk on chewing and destructive behaviours and how we can lessen the likelihood that our dogs are going to do that and understand why our dogs are doing that if they are. Enrichment activities are for sure also going to be beneficial there, which I've done a couple of other videos on, and there's a really good Facebook page called Canine Enrichment, I think that's what it's called, and they've got loads of really good ideas on there. By mentally stimulating our dogs, it's far less likely that they're going to seek out destructive behaviours in the home. So have a look at some of the other videos I've done on that, and there'll be loads of others on here as well. Have a look at all of them. Just type in canine enrichment activities and see what comes up. Often by just providing the dog with a appropriate outlet, mental stimulation, is far less likely for them to be destructive. Okay, so I hope that's helpful for you, Katie.